Fiji have warmed up for the Tokyo Olympics next month by taking out the Pacific Oz Sports Oceania Sevens tournament in Queensland. They won all 6 matches against Australia, New Zealand and an Oceania select team. Looking good for Tokyo then. And in the women's event, Fijiana pulled off a shock victory over Olympic champions Australia and won both their matches against the Oceania select team as well. But if that wasn't all, another bit of news to round off a memorable weekend for Fiji. There was news of more Australian government funding for rugby in the islands, with money to be invested in supporting the Ndrua push to join Super Rugby and to assist a Fijian team to join the women's Super W competition. So plenty there to talk about for our guest, Naomi Roberts, former Sevens and 15s international for Australia, but Fiji born and bred, and she's also a big supporter of the Fiji Sevens team and a founding member of the supporters group known as the Blue Wiggers. You're going to learn more about that, Naomi. Welcome, Bula, to Pacific Beat.
Bula Vinakamala, and it's great to be on your show this morning, especially here in cold Sydney and talking to you in Townsville, is it?
Yeah, well, we're based in Melbourne, but we are going to talk about what's happened in Townsville because it was quite the show. What are your thoughts first on what happened on the field? Fiji's men's team looking good for that Olympic gold in Tokyo some weeks away.
Yeah, I think it is a great start for them, and just to be here for that competition since they haven't, I think none of the 3 teams have played for the last 16 months, and to be in this leading up, it is a great start, and it should put them in a great mindset leading up to the Olympics.
And of course, we have to talk about Fijiana to beat the Olympic champions, in their own backyard. How much of a boost is it for them? Especially, like you said, a lot of these teams haven't been able to play much because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
That is priceless, to have that mindset too, to go in knowing that you are a world beater, and to come out without any gains, and to have the confidence that that they are on the right track too. And also we can't take off Australia. They will come out hungrier than ever too. So both sides of the coin, I think it will be a great Olympic to watch because everyone will be firing come the time.
If you were a betting woman, and if I was a betting woman, do you think Fijiana could really be in the shake-up for Olympic medals? Do you see them potentially, if you could, look into your crystal ball, do you see Fijiana on the podium with a medal around their neck?
Seriously, I think they have, and I could do that. If we talk about 4 years ago, probably not, but now they are in the best form that they have ever been in, and just to know that they can do this, even though Sevens is so quick, it can change from week to week, but to know that you are in the thick of it, yes, definitely, we can predict something like that.
You're listening to Pacific Beat on ABC Radio Australia. If you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Naomi Roberts, former Sevens and 15s international for Australia, and we're talking about rugby and Fiji. Now, the tournament was made possible with the investment from the Australian government, and now comes news of more funding for a men's and we hope a women's Super Rugby team in Fiji. Has the future for Fijian rugby looked even brighter than it has right now?
I think it is the brightest it's ever been. And for every girl growing up that wanted to play rugby, irrespective of where you come from, but coming from Fiji, this is a bigger school for our sport back at home. And it can change a young girl's future and a family, even a community. And we're talking a village setting, as we say, like changing a woman can change a bigger family outlook in life. So I think this is such a big school for Fiji. Mind the I'm so glad and I'm so proud that they can be part of this. And thank you to the Australian government, taxpayers, and everyone involved in giving them the opportunity for something like this.
You've had quite a fantastic career yourself. So, this funding and seeing what it could potentially mean for girls who look up to someone like you and want to play, how significant and how amazing is it for, you personally seeing all of this investment go into rugby and hopefully fostering the next generation of players?
Yeah, this is great. This is not only for me, and I think it's for all the Australian women's players, and that we all started back in 1993 for Australia rugby players, and I think they can all stand up proud for this moment in not only for Fiji but for the Australian women to be counted as rugby players for the Australian government to go further out of Australia alone. Yeah, I couldn't be more happier hearing the news that we are extending our funding to the neighbouring countries like Fiji.
Now, Naomi, despite obvious connections to Australia, as a past player yourself, you are a diehard Fiji Sevens supporter, and I believe that you were actually in Rio to see them win gold, but clearly with all of the restrictions, you won't be able to go to Japan. So what are your plans this time for when Fiji are in action? Do you have a party planned in Sydney, or what are you going to do to celebrate their hopeful wins?
We'll always have a party plan, but with COVID, with this COVID world, we just don't know where we will stand come the day, but we will have a plan. We had a plan organized for this Townsville because we couldn't be up there, for the Blue Eagles couldn't be up there, but we had the restrictions about just 2 days ago, so we couldn't move anywhere. But for the Olympics, I could be a Blue Wiggers, but I always travel with my Gold Wiggers too. So when Australia play, I put it on. But when Fiji and Australia play, I sort of put on my Blue Wigger and just clap both teams.
Now, I think that's a safe thing to do.
I am still an Australian player. I'm still an Australian fan.
Of course, you've got two hearts there, a heart for Fiji, a heart for Australia. And you know what? I think you're in pretty good stead betting both ways. But I do want to chat to you about the Blue Wiggers. For those who don't know, tell me, who are they and how long have they been following Fiji at tournaments around the world?
So the Blue Wiggers started back in 2007, and it was between three friends, Fijian friends, so myself included, and two other Fijian friends. One lived in LA and one lived in Fiji. So I was invited to be the coach for the Australian Barbarian that went to Hong Kong Sevens that year. So I had to bring my management team. So I got these two friends to come on board, and we went and helped out with the Australian girls. They lost in the final, so after the women played before the men's competition. So when they finished, we put away our Australian gears that we were provided with, and then we changed into our Australian Fiji fan shirts and all of the things, went out and got our wigs, and cheered for the men. And that was how it started. Or we started off with big black Afro wigs, and then we didn't stand out. So, yeah, we wanted to stand out for our crowd back at home because not many of our friends were traveling with us then. We had the blue wigs and it stood out. It was like a magnet to the cameras. And the year after, it grew to about 15 of us that traveled to Hong Kong and started off from there. So we have been to 3 World Cups in San Francisco, Moscow, and Russia. And then we went to the Rio Sevens, gold, Olympics. And our next big show was to be the Tokyo Olympics. So we couldn't go because everything was cancelled. And but it has gone from strength to strength, and we've got members in New Zealand, in America, in the UK, China, and the majority of the group is from Fiji. So we've been traveling just to support the boys and the girls. So when they look out into the crowd, they can see there's a Fijian flag. And we've got the biggest Fiji flag that you probably could see.
You probably won't be able to miss it if you're looking up into the stands.
You can't.
Unfortunately, though, because of restrictions, the Wiggers won't be able to be in Tokyo, but I have no doubt that social media will be flooded with pictures of blue wigs and Fiji flags for Tokyo this year. But Naomi, thank you so much for chatting with me. I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to see photos of you in your blue wig.
Thank you so much, Mara, for the opportunity to talk today. Yeah.
Vinaka, that was Naomi Roberts, former Sevens and 15s international for Australia, speaking to me there.